what we are doing here today is what we are trying to do is have what we call a vote by mail education event, where we are going to go around and start educating people about vote by mail in order to hopefully move them forward in getting more people registered. So real quickly, and can everybody see this on the screen here? Organizing Together, I want to really quickly give a brief intro to what Organizing Together is. We're basically a community-based, volunteer-driven organizing campaign designed to get people in the field right now, as opposed to later in October or November. We're working very hard against Donald Trump's agenda. And my team, the people that you've seen here, are basically right now calling and phone banking people to either get them to volunteer or to get them to do vote by mail. And so what we are doing, that's what we're doing. If you have time now and want to work from home, my FOs will set you up with an opportunity to phone bank and do those things now. And we'll talk more about that later. But just want to tell you, this is our group, and that's what we're all here on the ground. And we've wanted to partner with trusted voices to help spread this vote by mail message. And the person that we have today is Representative Davis. She is a state house rep, and she's been working for the people ever since she's been elected. But before she was doing that, she actually worked in the supervisor of elections office. So there's no better person to talk about vote by mail than Representative Davis. And so Representative Davis, she's gonna go through some slides, but really just to give you guys some education about vote by mail and then answer some questions at the end.
Thank you for that, Ovi. I appreciate it. It was a whole lot of thoughts going through my head with that one. So when you said we're recording, I'll refrain from saying any of those thoughts. First of all, thank you for everyone for taking the time to hang out with us and listen. I was in the elections office for 14 years. And before that, I was an educator with Duval County as a special education teacher. But elections are fun for me. I was there for a long time, and I enjoy talking about it and sharing the knowledge I know. I feel like I'm on with and I'm talking to a number of experts already. So I'm going to make this as casual and quick as possible, because I want to have time for if there are any questions that you may have at the end of this. And so I'll share. I have not reviewed the slides intensely, but I'm ready to roll, Obi.
All right, so first slide is just what is vote by mail. Vote by mail allows registered voters to basically send in ballots through the mail. We used to call vote by mail absentee ballots as well, but they're now called vote by mail because anybody can do it.
Are we supposed to?
Really quick, are you trying to share a screen? Because we can't see us.
You guys can't see us. Hold on one second. Can you see my screen now?
Says why vote by mail?
Yes. Yes.
Yep. So Tracie,
so you want to take over?
Yep. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So as you can see on the screen, vote by mail is cost efficient, it's cost effective, it's efficient for a number of people. It gives the voter an opportunity to do the research for this candidate, for this referendum, this issue at home, as well as this ballot is trackable. The person can track this ballot by way of the supervisor elections office, or they can track this ballot by using the Division of Elections office. Just like to tell people, in addition to that, it's the first ballot that's counted. This ballot can be mailed, but it doesn't have to. After legislation was passed, I want to say in 2016, every county has a secure drop box placed in their early voting sites. So voters can also drop a vote by mail ballot off into an early voting site. So they don't have to mail it if they don't want to, or they can drop it off at the SOE office. And again, they can absolutely vote this ballot in the comfort of their own home. So VBM isn't perfect. It actually isn't. And the more conversations I have, I'm hearing some of the things that people are hesitant about. This is an option, and I want everyone to have that conversation when they're talking to voters. This is an option. What I'm finding in having these conversations are people are thinking we're instituting something different, and we're not. Absentee voting and vote by mail is absolutely the same thing. So our older voters that have been voting this way are probably more familiar with the term absentee. But again, we changed that term in 2016 by legislation, and vote by mail is the same thing. So saying it isn't perfect. We always hear these stories where ballots are lost, ballots are found days later after the election at the post office. You hear these stories coming out of every county, probably every state. What I would say is to you, working in the supervised elections, we have a real relationship. Even though I'm not there, I know that relationship has continued. There's a real relationship in the office with the post office system, with the postmaster. There are constant meetings, there are constant organizations to ensure that we are receiving the office, the supervisor elections office is receiving all the ballots that are due to them by 7 p.m. on election day. There are multiple visits. There are multiple people going to visit throughout the day to pick up ballots and bring them to the elections office. So we have not had the issues that other counties have had or other states have had with ballots being found days after an election or put somewhere where they're not supposed to be put. So I would like to relax everyone with that. And like the screen says, we're pretty consistent because of that relationship. Again, vote by mail gives voters the opportunity, the ability to, slow it down, Obi, gives voters the opportunity to vote this ballot in their home and take their time to do it. But when you're talking about voting by mail, we cannot forget that we need to actually talk to the person about updating their signature, updating their address, updating any of other information that we would see a problem for the canvassing board or the supervisor of elections office to accept this ballot. So the screen says, you know, how do we vote by mail? Making sure that your signature is updated. Like I said, you can request a VBM ballot from the elections office. You can do that in person. You can do that by mail. You can do that by fax. You can do that by phone or the website itself, okay? Some people now have an issue with knowing, okay, what if I make a mistake on my vote by mail ballot? Mistake meaning I mailed my ballot off, I didn't sign it, or there's a mismatched signature. So the screen is saying we definitely want to make sure people are updating their signatures to ensure it counts. But I know that everyone knows, and I want everyone to be specific about this, there is a law on the books that allow a voter to be contacted, and they have 48 hours after the election to come in and sign an affidavit to correct that mismatched signature or add the signature to the ballot. So they have 2 days after the election to correct that signature issue if it is one. Obi?
All right, so since what we are trying to do here too is we're trying to get people to really be able to take advantage of vote by mail in a way that will allow them to vote, but also get their vote counted. So the first thing we need to do is we want to sign people up for vote by mail. We want to sign people up for vote by mail. And if you're already signed up for vote by mail, we want you to update your signature. What we're doing and kind of the purpose of this meeting is to really get us set up for Saturday. Saturday, we're doing what we call Souls to the Polls, which is a drive-in event where you can come in, fill out a form, and then you will drop it off. We'll be wearing masks, we'll have gloves, we'll be fully protected. But the reason why we're doing this is because you can't update your signature online. You have to do it through a paper copy. So we have to work with people and try to meet people where they're at. And so we're putting together this drive-in event where you can drive in, fill out your form, and we along with Tracie staff will drop them off at the SOE's office. So the deadline is August 8th. We will do another drive-in event as well. But the deadline for the August election is August 8th. The deadline for the November election is October 24th. And like you said, you can return these and get these in. You will be able to see Tracie Davis on the news tomorrow morning at 8:12 on Action News, talking about our Saturday event. So if you guys are up at that early hour, make sure you tune in and see her. But what we're doing and what you need to tell your friends is to update your signature or sign up for vote by mail. And all you need to do is drive over to our event, and you can do it, and we'll take care of the rest. So, and we want to show this. And then this is the event for tomorrow. We have a mobilized link that we'll share with everybody who came today on just to remind you about it. But this is the link. This is what we're going to be doing, rain or shine, on Saturday. So we want to leave the last kind of 5-6 minutes for questions from people. I have a couple questions for Rep. Davis that I know that a lot of people answer or will have to ask. But first question to you, Rep. Davis, is how early do you get a vote by mail ballot as opposed to everybody else?
So like I said, the vote by mail ballots are the first ballots that are counted, but by law, the ballots are mailed out for our military and overseas the 40th day prior to an election, between the 40th and, I'm going to get these numbers wrong, but I know it's the 40th day. So what the ask is now, because the ballots are mailed out first to our military and our overseas members, and then they're mailed out second to our civilians, our domestic people here in the state of Florida. So the first ballots are mailed out, like I said, the 40th day prior to the election. So well in advance of election, you have all of that time. And so that's when they're mailed out.
Good. And then one other thing too, I wanted to ask you, because I know people are going to ask about tracking and being able to vote in person as opposed to because one of the things that concerns is they want their ballots counted, right? And you having experience behind the scenes, how does that work as far as the tracking? And then if it isn't counted, how could you go vote in person?
There's a lot going on in that question. So I'll just give my personal experience. So because I worked in the office for a number of years, I was always that voter that wanted to try out all the systems. So when I organized early voting, I voted for a number of years by early. I voted early, like many of us do, which is still an option. But for the last 5 years, going on 6 years, I've actually voted by mail myself and have actually had no issues. And I did that to be able to see how you track the ballot from the time that you vote. And again, you can see that ballot being received by the supervisor, following the supervisor of elections website or the division of elections. You can see when that ballot has been accepted by way of the website. And you can also see if it's been rejected, and you can call and ask why. And like we talked about earlier, if it's a signature issue, a signature mismatch, the supervisor of elections will tell you at that point, but they are mandated actually after the election to begin to contact voters with signature issues to allow them that 48 hours to get down to the supervisor of elections office, sign that affidavit to correct that mismatched signature or add the signature to that ballot as well. So they have that responsibility to contact the voter. A lot of times the parties get involved to ensure that people are being notified and contacted to get in to the office to correct that issue. But that's another safeguard that I love to share with folks.
And last question for me, and I'll open it up. You don't have to mail it back, correct?
No, absolutely not. There was legislation passed about 2 years ago. Every county does things their particular way, but every county, all 67 counties, have the responsibility of having a secured lockbox in the early voting site. In the early voting site, at the early voting site, that is the verbiage. So a voter does not have to mail their ballot back. They actually can take their voted vote by mail ballot to an early voting site and drop it in one of those secured lock boxes. That was actually a bill I ran when I first got there. And actually, I thought it was a little heavy-handed because of how we had people delivering. My version was just one person could bring their ballot back. So I felt that was a little heavy-handed and pulled it back. And then a Republican colleague picked it up and ran it again. And this is what we have. Folks can drop their voted by mail ballots off in a secured lockbox at the early voting sites. And so I think that's a great remedy for not, if folks don't particularly want to mail it back, or they can drop it off at the supervisor elections office. Let's not forget that as well. But I also want to point out that this is an option. This is an option for people to know that's there, it's been there, and we're encouraging folks to vote this way simply because we are living through a pandemic, and we want people to be safe, and we want our voting situations and our voting environments to be secure and accessible for every voter. No voter should have to decide between a health issue versus exercising their right to vote. So that's why we're encouraging the vote by mail procedure.
So want to open it up to any questions from anybody who's attending, for me or Rep. Davis. Karen, you look like you have a question. Do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering whether the vote by mail ballots are coming out, sent to the voter to be returned with no postage, or does the voter have to get postage put on it?
That's a great question, Karen. And like I said, 67 counties do 67 different things. So Duval County is a county that pays for the postage. So once a voter receives their vote by mail ballot, the only thing they're dealing with is marking their ballot, securing it in the envelopes that are provided. There's a flap that covers the signature and their date, and they do not have to worry about postage. The postage is prepaid in Duval, and many of the other counties do that as well. However, I give you an example. Leon County is not one of them. Leon County is a county where the person receives their vote by mail ballot, and it's the voter's responsibility to add the postage to it. So we're lucky in that sense that voters here in Duval County do not have to pay the postage. It's prepaid. All they have to do is return the ballot. And they actually, I'm going to take that question from Karen a little bit further. A voter that's voting, because this is an option, Florida is not a county, Florida is not a state where we can have an all-mail ballot. I want to make that clear to everyone. We can only exercise an all-mail ballot on a referendum. Our upcoming elections are not referendum elections, and so Florida will not be experiencing an all-mail ballot. Some counties do this with a ton of efficiency. Pinellas County is a county, and I love to share their statistics. They have over 630,000 voters, and over 260,000 of them are registered to receive a vote by mail ballot. Pinellas County is very efficient in vote by mail because they've conditioned their voters for this. However, they also have the option, like the rest of the state, voters will still be able to vote early. They will still be able to vote on election day. So it's completely their choice, but we're just encouraging them to be safe.
So 2 questions from LaTanya that I think are helpful as well. Are there any locations that people can pick up the form besides our drive-by event? I think they could pick them up at the SOE as well. And then can you drop off more than one ballot, or do you only can drop off your ballot? Tracie, I'll give you.
So to pick up, you're talking about the vote by mail ballot request form?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the person can actually print that offline from the Division of Elections website. They also can print that from the Supervisor of Elections website. They can mail that in, they can bring it back in person, they can complete the request form online, or they can simply call the office and request a vote by mail ballot. So it's a few ways they can request that vote by mail. And I think the other part of that question was? The second question was,
No, I was asking about the update form, the form that they have to use to update their signature. Can they actually pick that up somewhere or?
Yeah, they'll be able to pick that up at the Supervisor of Elections office. So if they need to go into a place and do it, they can do it at the supervisor elections office. Her second question was, do you only have to drop off your ballot? Can you drop off more than one ballot?
I'll tell you a little story about that, and I don't want to draw it out. So we had a bill being ran in the House, the legislature this year, and the question came up whether a person, that very same question, whether a person can bring back more than 2 ballots. Now, by law, we all know that a person can pick up their own ballot as well as 2 additional ballots for immediate family member with written authorization. The returning ballot has become a question, and we want to make sure that we're in proper stance, because we all know that November is going to be a contentious election. And so, you know, our colleagues are going to do things and they're going to think we're going to do things. But as I understand it, serving in the office for more than 14 years, as well as some other attorney colleagues of mine, that a person can return an unlimited number of ballots. It is a very gray area, but know that in this upcoming November election, our colleagues are going to be doing some real strange things, and they're going to be looking at us to insinuate we're doing those same things. So we actually have that out for an opinion now, because some people are reading that statute one way and other people are reading it another way. But as I have always understood it, a person can return an unlimited number of ballots. However, they can only walk out of the office with their ballot plus 2 others with written authorization.
Great question. Any other questions?
I have a question, Alan, here.
Go ahead.
Now, do all registered voters get a mail, vote by mail ballot without?
No, you have to request it. You have to request it separately. So if you're registered to vote and you want to vote by mail ballot, you have to do a separate request, a separate form to get that vote by mail ballot delivered to you. And that is what we're actually passing out on Saturday. So you can come to that and get one. You can get some extra ones for your friends as well. But yes, you have to make a special request for that.
And I'll add to that. That's a great question, Alan. I'll add a little bit to that. So the supervisors have not received any direction from our governor as far as some things they're asking for legislative flexibility. So we're trying to get rid of the neighborhood precincts so we can have early voting for 22 days. But with the question you just asked, some counties are being proactive, and some counties are actually, in Broward is the first one that comes to mind. They have actually mailed out vote by mail ballot request forms to every registered voter. So I have been told, and I've had a conversation with our supervisor here in Duval County, and you have a pretty active supervisor in St. John's, that there will be a letter that's going out here in Duval County encouraging folks to go online or make a phone call to request their vote by mail ballot. So that's what's happening now.
Yeah, I'm in St. Johns County, and I don't recall ever requesting a vote by mail ballot. I think it just came in the mail. No, my wife says no. We had to request it. Okay, she knows.
Right.
So we had to
right. So I didn't mean to cut you off. So yes, just like Obi said, vote by mail ballots have to be requested. And
Okay.
I'll tell you this: you don't call and just request the ballot. They actually will ask you if you're requesting the ballot for a particular election, 2 particular elections, or multiple elections. So you have that choice. And for everyone out there, if you request the vote by mail ballot, it comes to the House and you decide not to use it, that's your choice as well. You do not have to use this ballot. You very well can take the ballot with you if you go to early voting and have it destroyed, or you can just go and vote early or go and vote election day. The elections office does have the ability, all of them, to make sure you're only voting one time.
I want to vote more than once.
No, you cannot.
But Tracie, I think you would recommend people to go ahead and get the ballot for 2 cycles though, right? So you're not like just re-requesting every cycle, because you can get it for 2 election cycles, correct?
Yes, you can. And you actually can, I think one of the options is all the elections. And so that's, when you request it for all of the elections, that's like for a number of years. And at any point you can call and stop it, or you can just not use it. But you, like we stated before, you have to call, email, however you choose, but you have to request the vote by mail ballot to be mailed to your home. Some counties, and I think that's where people are getting mixed up, some of the conversation from some of the groups that are into the vote by mail are requesting that supervisors mail ballots to every registered voter, and that is not what we want to do. That again takes us into an all mail ballot election, and again here in Florida, we legally are not in a position to do that unless the governor makes an executive order to have that done, and we're not going to do that.
Good. Any more questions? And Danette, I think your question was, if you don't mail it in, you don't have to bring it in to the elections off, you don't have to destroy it. If you don't mail it in, you don't have to bring it in and destroy it. If you
don't have to take it with you, like how? Okay, because I've had a lot of people ask me that.
No, that's a good question. Go ahead.
So Danette, you don't have to take it with you, because most of, and I'm the why, is because of the technology that our elections offices use around the state. We have 2, 3 counties that do not use the same equipment because they have the ability to use something else, but everyone works the same. They're all on the state system. So we use a piece of equipment in the election, in the early voting sites on election day, called the EVID. So the EVID tells the poll worker whether you've been issued an absentee ballot or not. They can see that on the screen. If you bring it back, that's great. They'll take it, they'll cancel it, they'll get you going for a ballot inside. If you don't have it, they still will cancel it and then issue you another ballot. All of that equipment is live, so it's real time. So when they cancel that absentee ballot and allow you to vote, it still only shows you voted one time.
Okay.
Are you gonna
Thank
be
you.
doing, excuse me, may I say something?
Go ahead.
Are you gonna be doing any other drive-in vote by mail situations, any outside of Duval County? Because I'm down here in St. John's, obviously. They're going to be doing them in Daytona or St. John's County or anywhere else?
Alan, if you want us to do one in St. John's, we will do one in St. John's. We will definitely make that happen.
That sounds like an invitation to me.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it in your driveway, or we can find a place in St. John's to do it. But we are going to be doing more of these. This is our first one. We want to get the kinks, get it done right. But we are going to be doing more of these throughout my district, at least. I don't know about the rest of the state at this point, but we're going to do whatever we can to make it very easy for people to vote by mail. So we will be doing one in St. Johns County. We will be doing a couple more in Jacksonville as well. We just want to get them on the schedule now, though.
How are you going to promote them?
So as you can tell, we're on the news tomorrow. That's one of the ways. My FOs have been calling people and talking to people every day about vote by mail, and part of that will be recruiting to those events as well, and then also social media as well. And if there's other places that you think we should go to promote it, let us know and we'll do that as well. But those are the 3 kind of places that we've been going to promote this right now. Also, I will add, Organizing Together 2020, we are basically doing, the whole state is working on this project and getting people to vote by mail. So we're calling people throughout the state, but we're calling a lot of people in our area as well. So, I mean, we're making a substantial amount of calls to get people to do vote by mail as well.
Okay.
And before we go, I want everyone to know this little piece, so you have this in your mind when you're talking to people. There was legislation, that 2016 piece of legislation. A lot of people are like, when you start rejecting ballots, who has the authority to reject a ballot when they haven't, you know, undergone any signature verification training, when, you know, there's, you know, how do they know a signature and that kind of thing when you're talking about people, talking to people, because of course we all know that the vote by mail deals with the signature comparison. So one thing there is, I want you all to know that in that piece of legislation from 2016, all supervisor of elections staff are required by law to have attended a signature verification training, which means they have someone brought in, contracted to provide signature training to all of the staff. The other piece of that I want you all to know, and I mentioned that EVID piece of equipment, the supervisor's office captures the signature on your voter registration form. They capture that signature, but the EVID machine also captures the signature when you go to early voting and when you go to election day. So the supervisors of elections offices don't just have one signature to look at to verify these vote by mail ballots. They have multiple signatures. So I just wanted you all to know that when you're talking to folks, you're trying to get the myths of what they've heard, and we have to dispel the myths to encourage them to vote in this way to protect themselves. They still will be able to vote early if that's their choice. They still will be able to vote on election day. But I just wanted you all armed with that piece of information.
All right, any other questions? So
Yeah.
in the chat, oh, Alan, you had another one? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, is there going to be some kind of a written outline of what we talked about today, or is this something that we would speak to our leader about? Like,
Yeah. We can make these slides available for you. I believe, I don't think that should be an issue. So you can have the slides if you want to do it. We are recording this as well, so you can show. We'll make it available for people to see as well. Want to make sure you guys look in the chat. We put in our Mobilize link in the chat for the event on Saturday. So if you want to share the event on Saturday with people, you can use that link right there in the chat to do that. And Alan, we will obviously, you know, whatever questions you have, we will make sure we get. Yes, owner one iPhone. Yes, we will make sure that is in our social media pages as well, that we have that.
Hey, Kim.
All right, guys. Yes, Kim, do you have a question? I saw you waving your hand. Oh, okay. Lene, go ahead. Oh, Latanya, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask owner one what their name was, so I can make sure we email them the information and or tagging, make sure they get the information for Saturday. Because it's not, it just says owner one iPhone. Oh, thank you.
Your name in there. Good. All right. So yeah, we want to make sure that we get everyone there. Thank you guys for coming. Like I said, this will be recorded and we'll be doing this again. You can also catch Tracie on the news tomorrow morning at 8:30 on Action News Jax, where she's going to be talking about our Saturday event as well. And we want you guys to push people to this event. We wanted to have this so you guys are well equipped with, to be able to answer people's questions about vote by mail. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and hopefully this event will help you kind of clear some of that up. Vote by mail for us is trackable, it's safe, and it is for us on our side, it gives us a month to reach out to people and make sure they vote. And so it is vital in a state like Florida where everything is 1% to give people as many options to vote as possible, and also safe options. And so we want to thank everybody for coming out today. We will, like we said, we will let you know about the recording, and we'll be doing more watch parties, and we'll be doing more drive-in events as well. All right. Thank you, guys.
Before you let everyone go, I just want to say thank you for joining, but you mentioned 1%. And I think if we're going to end this, I want you all to know that I don't know your stats in St. John's, but for Duval County, when people start talking to you about rejection, know that in the last election, the last 2 elections, that the rejection rate here for vote by mail ballots was less than 1%. So just want to add that. And that's a caveat to continue to encourage people to vote by mail. We want them to vote by mail. We want them to vote by mail. But if they don't choose to, we want them to vote early or vote election day. November 3rd is extremely important, and we just need folks voting. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.